Welcome to The Connector, where we connect North Carolina to ideas and North Carolinians to each other. This podcast series is from the Institute for Emerging Issues at North Carolina State University. And now to the conversation.
Welcome to The Connector. I'm your host, Jess Epsten, Digital Opportunity Initiative Lead with the Institute for Emerging Issues at NC State University. I'm thrilled to announce that the North Carolina Department of Information Technology Office of Digital Opportunity, in partnership with the Friday Institute of Educational Innovation, has published North Carolina's new Digital Skills Standards. This statewide framework identifies the essential knowledge and abilities residents need to engage in civic, economic, and social life. We are fortunate today to be joined by the leaders on this project: the Director of the Office of Digital Opportunity, Maggie Woods, Friday Institute's Director of Digital Learning, Emma Braaten, and Digital Literacy Coordinator, Becky Evans-Wilson. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Great to be here.
Amazing. So let's get started. These digital skill standards are such a helpful framework for educators and practitioners across the state. Maggie, can you give us more background about why your office wanted to create these standards?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited that these standards are published. It's been a really long time coming. So back in 2023, we were traveling around the state, developing a strategic plan to address the digital divide for the state. And that's really, at least for me, when this need first bubbled up. We got a lot of questions from people all across the state, people who have programs or just everyday residents who said, what does it even mean to be digitally literate? Or what sorts of digital skills should I have? Or should I be making sure that I'm teaching my students or the people who come into my program? And at that time, we knew that North Carolina really didn't have a comprehensive framework. And so we identified that as a clear need in the state's digital opportunity plan. Additionally, so since then, we have funded 74 partners across the state to support digital skills and training, as well as computer access. And as we've worked with these partners and got them on board, and as they were applying, they just had a lot of questions about digital skills. What curriculum should they be using? How do they ensure that their programs align with state goals? And so we knew that we really needed to have the framework in place. So we're just really thrilled to be in this place today with these fantastic skills in place.
Incredible. So over the past year, NC State's Friday Institute has partnered with dozens of stakeholders to create this robust framework. Emma and Becky, how did you all go about creating these standards?
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing project for us here at the Friday Institute, where most of our work is really thinking about research policy and practice. Since we're at an university, NC State, we're thinking about those different research pieces. And so our team started there. What has been done? What else has been published? What are those best practices, and what can we learn from others and their experiences in the research space? And so we pursued a lot of information, trying to collect and synthesize all of that research from across the globe. Locally in our communities too, we knew that a lot of information was living among our residents and those folks in the state who are providing the digital skills training currently. And so we were really interested in seeking some collective input too, for us to understand how are we currently at the state, in our state agencies, in our local communities, defining digital literacy and digital skills? So we were doing a lot of that investigation and querying around what does it mean to be digitally literate? And then also trying to understand where this work with the digital skills lives between the space of that digital foundation of, I know how to turn on my machine, I can send an email, to, I'm going to take a community college course on a specific technical area of study. And so trying to fill in that gap was a great opportunity for us to better understand what digital skill standards could look like for our residents. And along the way, we really wanted to hear from others. So I'd love for Becky to share a little bit more about what that process looked like too.
Yeah, a really exciting part of this work was participating in the interviews with people from across the state of North Carolina who are engaged in this digital navigation work and in support of this digital literacy skills and standards for residents everywhere. So as part of these interviews, we started with state agencies and we asked questions about what those skills should look like to be able to really engage in the vital components of our digital world. And we also engaged with community organizations who are working with our residents every day and really have a feel for what are our folks looking for now and what are we currently providing? And then what gaps do we have that really need to be filled so that we can think through how do we showcase that in these standards of what needs to be there for residents of North Carolina. We also engaged in a feedback process, and that really helped inform the standards that we wrote, because during each iteration, we brought these to our interest groups, and that allowed us to really see what was covered and what we were missing, or what we maybe needed to think of in a little bit different light to really hit all of those essential skills and understandings that all of our North Carolina residents needed access to.
Incredible. So I'm excited to share the standards now with folks. So the standards are organized into 6 different key areas: digital identity, digital well-being, digital relationships, digital safety, digital reasoning, and digital futures. Give us an overview of each key area.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I love about these 6 key areas is that it really offers us a full spectrum of your digital life online, and what that can look like to be connected, and who you are as an individual online and who you want to be. And so that's really how we framed these standards. For the first one, with digital identity, who you are, how your actions, what you're creating, how you're interacting, is shaping how you are perceived in those digital spaces. So when you are making those decisions online, it really is important for you to think about your own personal values and the ethical decision making that you engage in every time you choose to post or repost, have a conversation, or really thinking about managing your digital footprint and participating in this evolving digital world. But then bookend at the opposite end of our spectrum, our standards, is that notion of our digital futures. Things are changing so rapidly right now that really we want to make sure that residents are able to develop those skills that they need to be able to responsibly engage with those new tools or platforms, things like artificial intelligence or computational thinking. They ask those really good, challenging questions where we're thinking critically about our impact with how we are engaging online. And so our digital futures is our last standard of that set, where we're building that digital resilience and we're thinking about what comes next for us in our digital life. Becky, you want to fill us in with the middle standards?
Sure. So we also really wanted to focus on digital well-being and thinking about how we balance our relationship with technology to center our wellness, our physical health, our mental health, and our concentration in our daily lives. We also focused on digital relationships because we know collaboration and interaction across online spaces is a vital component of our connected world. And that was an area we wanted to make sure everyone understood and had tools to grow in. Digital safety is such a vital part of our world right now, and we wanted to make sure that was highlighted. And that's really managing and avoiding our risks online as we're taking, we're really taking part in all of the transactions and interactions that we do on a daily basis with folks. The final one is digital reasoning. And this is so critical because it's about analyzing and evaluating all of those information sources that we're seeing online, no matter if it's on social media, news websites, anywhere we go, being able to critically engage with the things that are being presented to us and make decisions for ourselves.
Okay, this is so incredibly exciting and thorough. So let's take a deeper look at one of these areas that comes up a lot in our work: digital safety. I know that each standard is broken down into different skills with corresponding examples. Show us the digital safety standards and walk us through it.
Yeah, so I think this is a really great time for us to further explain a little bit about how this work is structured. So we have our digital skills standards, which really are these large domains of knowledge that we want folks to develop their capacity to navigate these specific focus areas. And then within each of those standards, we have those more specific skills that describe those ranges of abilities or tasks, behaviors, maybe even understandings that reflect their application of that digital skill or digital standard. And so I think the digital safety standard is a great example for us this afternoon, because what we have found is a lot of these skills build on each other. And so Becky's going to walk us through the digital safety standard specifically, but these 4 skills are designed to develop residents' understanding from one skill to the next. And so as they grow and scaffold, we anticipate that residents who are developing this standard and these skills will be better equipped in this specific standard of digital safety.
Yeah, so as Emma said, each of our standards has ranges between 3 to 4 digital skills that folks are going to explore as they get into them. And so with digital safety, we actually have 4 digital skills. We start with internet safety, and internet safety is where residents are able to focus on their online resources and networks and think about how they can safely engage in this online world that they're entering into and how they can keep themselves safe online. The second part of this standard is data and device protection. And this is really centered on keeping our devices up to date, whether it's cell phones, our tablets, our computers, keeping our devices safe, but also understanding the need for our data to be safe as we're sharing information online, as we're using different websites, and thinking about how those practices that we have are really impacting that. The online threat awareness skill, which is skill number 3, helps people determine what online threats they might be that might be at risk at, and use those first 2 skills from protecting your devices and your data and understanding safety to really be able to build some awareness of what those threats are, and then respond whenever you are put in a situation where you encounter an online threat. The final one is scam awareness, and I think that's one all of us know all too well. And that really asks us to employ all these skills. Think about how online threats exist in our world and how we use the protection of data and devices and our internet safety to be able to understand when something is a scam and how to respond appropriately in order to keep ourselves safe online.
Thank you so much, Emma and Becky. Now that we've gotten a great overview and taken a little deep dive into a standard, how can practitioners across different sectors use these digital skill standards? Maggie, let's start with you.
Wonderful. Well, I think what we've really tried to center at right at the center of these standards is making these tangible for the people and the communities and the organizations that are going to use them. And so from my perspective, that includes digital navigator programs. So these are people in community meeting individually with residents to meet whatever their specific digital need is. And so they can utilize these standards. They can point to certain elements and teach them every single day. I also think about organizations that are understanding that they play a role in closing the digital divide. And they may not have made that connection before, but they have people coming into their food bank. They have people coming into their church who are saying, I need to know how to use a computer. I need to get a job. I need to continue my education. And they don't really know where to start. Well, this is an amazing place to start. And as you heard Emma and Becky walk through the different standards and how you can utilize different elements, what I also think is great is you can look at them as a holistic set of standards and go through each one and go through future trainings for each one. Or you can look at standalone standards and standalone skills, right? So I think about some of the programs that are grantees who are supporting people who are in reentry. who may not have ever used a computer, right? Or they might have learned how to use a computer in prison, but they've never had to manage digital relationships, let alone think about online safety or AI. And so for those programs, they may want to use the whole holistic view or pick and choose based on where that person is at. So that's really how I've been thinking about this, and how practitioners can use it is we want to make it tangible for them, easy to use, and to meet people where they're at.
And I really love that meaningful, impactful approach to what this work looks like, because we don't want these standards and skills just to live in on the shelf or live in a document or something that the state says is important for all residents, but really be something that is implemented and is thought-provoking for folks as they encounter different experiences, that they're thinking critically, they're applying and using these standards every time they're online or interacting in their digital world. And so one of the ways that we were really intentional about making these skills concrete was by pairing each of the skills with some real world examples of how folks might be engaging. And so these examples reflect 5 key areas of daily life. And so throughout, you'll find different examples or use cases that might be from the education space, where activities involving your K-12 life or your experience in schools and community colleges and universities. You might have some education examples incorporated throughout with these skills, or with essential services, those interactions with community and government entities such as the library or the senior center, the Department of Motor Vehicles. Examples also have come from healthcare. So those are the things that you might be engaging in to improve your mental or physical health, including telehealth visits or accessing your patient portal. All of those things fall into some great examples of how you can be applying these digital skills. Then finally, we're also thinking about the job space as well, that training and the skill development you need for the workforce, or even that final one of social life. It's an example area that we have also developed, where we're thinking about how you might be engaging with your friends, your neighbors, your community members, really that social and civic engagement where you are encountering other people and it's part of your day-to-day. So I'd love for Becky to give us a really specific example for us of where we tried to develop a scenario for where we saw this skill happening in an individual's life.
Yeah, so as both Emma and Maggie said, we wanted these to be really tangible and really applicable. So in the use cases we developed for each of the skill areas and under the standards, we really tried to make it as grounded in everyday life as we could. So for instance, under digital reasoning, the very first skill is source evaluation. Well, under source evaluation, we created a use case that really talks to a scenario I think many of us may have encountered before: someone going on social media and sharing some photos of storm damage, right? And assuming maybe it's from your hometown or from a town that you know, and it paints this narrative that maybe something terrible happened that you weren't aware of. But we really give people actionable ways to check and make sure that this is really the truth of what's happening, like visiting Ready NC, or checking with other reliable organizations and reliable sources, like the North Carolina Department of Transportation or the Emergency Management website, to make sure that this is really valid, and it helps you be a more aware and critically engaged consumer of the information you're finding online.
Thank you. So we know the project doesn't end here. What are the next steps to develop North Carolina's residents' digital skills?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we are working towards next is taking these standards that have been published and turning it into an online course. So we'll be developing a course that would be free for all North Carolina residents to explore. And it could be the whole course, or it could be parts of the course that they would take in order to better understand each of these standards or skills. And so this will be built around some scenarios that folks will encounter, and then apply some of their learning to how they would handle those different types of scenarios. But what we're excited about is the fact that we'll be able to use our digital navigators that are in communities for folks to be able to access those courses and to get help, ask questions, or take that course with that trusted guide in their community. And so we also want to make sure that these are not things that you just sit and you click through and you take a quiz, but we want to make them highly engaging for folks and great learning opportunities that will grow and shift over time as experiences and new learning happens. And so it's definitely going to be application-based, scenario-based, and hopefully highly engaging for residents as they're working through this learning material. And so it will be something that is interactive and will keep them thinking and applying it critically to their own life.
Yeah, we also wanted to be sure that we know every resident of North Carolina doesn't necessarily have access to a digital navigator at all times. So we wanted to make sure these are available in a flexible format where folks can seek this out online on their own, or they can go to their digital navigator and work with them to get that different kind of learning in a group or a small one-on-one environment. So we've really worked to ensure that these modules will translate to both kinds of learning experiences, because we know there are folks across the state that have very different needs, and we feel like we need to be able to address all of that.
And I'll just end by highlighting a couple of the things that Emma and Becky just shared now, which is, I wrote down, we want these to be engaging, tangible, flexible. We want to make sure they're meeting needs where people are at. And so we're really excited about taking these standards and putting them into trainings that are free and available to anyone, anytime, anywhere. And so we'll be sure to keep everyone updated on that. And maybe we need a podcast when those come out to make sure people know how to utilize those. And then I just want to note that like everything right now, and in technology field, we expect that these standards may evolve, right? We may relook at them in a couple years from now based on feedback and based on our practitioners in the field using them, and need to make some updates and some tweaks. We think about what digital futures looks like. Well, that digital future is going to be here before we know it. So we do see this as an evolving document, evolving work, and we appreciate anyone who has feedback or wants to share their experience with us. And then just want to end by sharing my deep appreciation for these amazing researchers. Both Emma and Becky have really poured a tremendous amount of work into this, time, effort, and then of all of the community organizations and state agencies that have taken up their precious time to really help build something that can be really usable for the people of North Carolina. So thank you to everyone who is involved in this important effort.
It was exciting work. We loved being a part of it. So thank you for your leadership, Maggie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to echo that. We at IEI and the Band NC program are very grateful for this work and know it's going to have an incredible impact across our state. So once again, I want to thank our guests, Maggie Woods, Emma Braaten, Becky Evans-Wilson, for joining us today. To learn more about North Carolina's new digital skill standards, visit www.ncbroadband.gov/digital-skills-standards. And until next time, let's all stay connected.
This has been a presentation from the Institute for Emerging Issues at North Carolina State University. To learn more, please visit us at emergingissues.org.